Hello everyone, my name is Dan McKay with Implementation Specialist, and we are going to go through customizing Excel spreadsheets to use for copy and paste into General Ledger. So we're about to get started here. You should see on your screen the first page of my slides, and we're also going to be using this spreadsheet, which I will zoom in on so we can see it a little more clear, so you don't have to, so you can see it easier. Put it at 150%. Okay. Okay. So if you have any questions, something doesn't look right, let me know and we'll stop and go over it. So to get started with, this is customizing Excel for copy and paste into General Ledger. And I'm going to assume that you know how to copy and paste into General Ledger, but I will also give you a quick demo of that. So we're going to review what is copy and paste into GL, including some of the shortcomings of that. What are some of the things that it's fussy about? Then we'll look at a basic Excel spreadsheet and how to consolidate the data to make it really easy to do copy and paste into Excel without having to monkey around with the data. And that'll be part of the consolidation of the data. And then, kind of as an advanced topic, we will do an offset account for the bottom of the copy paste. So I'll tell you now that we're going to dig into pretty deep into some Excel functions that you may not have seen before, and I will cover those individually. So here, copy paste into GL. Obviously, it's to use instead of manual entry. You can enter quite a bit of data in one single paste, especially if you do your work in Excel. And we can use it to enhance already published Excel reports, which you will see here shortly. So in GL copy paste, when we're in Dynamics GP, we see that there is a paste button up at the ribbon. You can see here I have ribbons enabled. There's a paste button at the ribbon, and when you push that, it will take whatever has been copied in Excel and paste it into the transaction window. It requires these 4 columns in this order: the description, the account number, the debit amount, and the credit amount. And those of you who've used this know that you can have no header line, you can have no blank lines, and you can have no $0 lines. If you do, you will get a report instead of a paste. So instead of filling in the transaction window, it will give you a report. If you pull it to the screen, you will see what the issue is, whether it has blanks or zeros, or why it doesn't like it. Sometimes it's that the account number itself is not valid. So here's an example. If I were to copy this in Excel and paste it into GL, it would paste those values in. So in GP, under General, you'll see that right here. We can paste in, and we'll paste that in. So we will do a paste here shortly and show you. In fact, I'll do it right now. We'll go in and I will grab this data, hit copy, go back to here and hit paste, and there's the data. It's that simple. From here I can post, I can fix it, I can do what I want. Any questions so far? Okay. So this is very basic. We're just reviewing some of the basic items here to be on the same page, same level with copy paste. So if we're going to use an existing spreadsheet, and this is what the point of this webinar is we're going to use an existing spreadsheet and do some work on it so that it's really easy to do copy and paste into GL. The data should be in columns. You can have currency symbols. And you need the description, the account, and the dollar amounts side by side. And you probably will want an offset account and a total. For consolidation, and this is what we're going to focus on today, is consolidating the data, because depending on how your spreadsheet is, you may have blank lines and $0 rows. You can use a filter. We'll show you how to use that. Some people don't like to use the filter because you have to reapply the filter before you do the copy paste. You can try to hold the control key down and multi-select. You'll find that's very frustrating very quickly. And depending on the nature of your spreadsheet, you can delete the rows that have blank or $0. Some people do that. And you can copy the rows to a new location, and that is effectively what we are going to do using Excel functionality. We're going to use an automatic solution using formulas. We're going to identify the rows in the spreadsheet that have data. And then we're going to copy the data in the correct order in the columns, do additional validation and corrections, and we'll have an automatic offset line. So we'll go back to the spreadsheet. Here is our spreadsheet. I'll give you, this is an item that we here at Implementation Specialists have built, and it is an extension of the published employee vacation sick time available report. And what we've done is we've added in a department account, a department and a department account, and the primary pay record and the primary pay record amount, and we can sum up the vacation time and the sick total. And this should be vacation time. So this is what I have using demo data here with some sample learning and made some changes, and we'll see that we've summed up some data. What I want to do is I want to post into GL my vacation and sick time accrual amounts. So here is the main data. Now I obviously cannot do it from this window. I want to consolidate it by department or by account number. So in this tab called Accounts, I have for each department account number, for each department and description and account number, I'm summing up the vacation from the first tab. So I can see that in the construction department I have this much vacation, this much sick time in dollars, and in the installation department I have, there's my account for that, this much sick time, vacation time, and this much sick time in dollars. The other one that is tagged with a department account is the electrician, department 683, and I don't have any data in there. So if I were to try to copy and paste this into GL, for one thing, I want to copy and paste my vacation separate from my sick time. Now we do have a version of this where you can lump it all together in PTO time if your vacation and your sick time go together. So with this, I need a description, account number, and a debit and a credit. Well, you can see this isn't going to work, copying and pasting this. That's not what I want. What I really want is what we have over here in green and also over here in orange. So how do we get to that? So we'll go back to the slide deck. Any questions so far? If you have anything, everybody should be off of mute, and so just let me know and we'll stop and we'll go over it. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to identify which rows in my data have something that I'm going to paste into GL. So I'm going to add a new column, and I'm going to add if my debit amount plus my credit amount is greater than 0. And then I'm going to number them to allow mapping to rows. We'll show you why we're doing this. And when we do that, we're going to use absolute and relative references in Excel to avoid circular references. So if you've ever made a formula in Excel and it came back and said that you have a circular reference, you'll know that you can't go forward with that. So with this function, we will show you how to avoid that. So we'll do a demo of that. So that is effectively what this column is. I'm saying, is there any vacation time here to paste into GL? So we see that these two rows of data have data. these two rows, row 5 and row 6. So what I'm saying here is if the value in D5 is greater than 0, here if the value in D6 is greater than 0, then you'll notice that they're numbered. If I happen to have data here, if I were to manually enter something and override this, you'll see this is numbered 1, 2, and 3. So how does it number that? That's the next step we're going to do. So it should be pretty straightforward that by saying if D2 is greater than 0, we know that I'm identifying rows that have values I want to copy and paste into Excel or into GL. But this numbering part, I will go over that. Do I have a slide for this? No, that is this slide. Pardon my switching back and forth. You'll see I'm doing a maximum. I'm doing a maximum of column F, and I'm adding 1 to it. But if I do a maximum of all of column F, I will get a circular reference for sure. So what I'm doing is I'm saying the maximum from F1 with a $sign on each side of this F1 means anchor it for sure to this cell always. And I'm summing it, I'm giving the range down to the cell I'm sitting on and 1 above it. So in this case, it's not very exciting. It's just doing this same range, F1 to F1, and it's adding 1. So the maximum of this is 0, plus 1 is 1. When I get down to this one, I'm saying sum this amount. You can see where it is here. It's highlighted in red. It's summing everything above the cell that I'm sitting on. And that is the point of this. Everything above this cell in this column, give me the maximum numeric value and add 1. So that is how this becomes a 2. And that's how this becomes a 3. If I delete this value, change it back to a 0, you'll see this goes back to a 1 because the maximum of everything above it is 0. Any questions on this? You'll see why I'm numbering them here shortly. The same applies here to the 6th time. So we number those as well, and we see what's above it. We see that this is 1 and this is 2. Now if once I had values in here, you'll see that's different. So with this, I've numbered my data 1, 2, and 3. We'll go on to the next slide here. And we're going to get in talk about match and index. If you've used VLOOKUP before, you'll see match and index are very similar. Very similar to VLOOKUP, broken into 2 pieces, broken into 2 components, match and index. The match function finds an item and returns the row relative to the specified range. And all that means is it says, I found it, it's 4 rows down. Index, I can say, go 4 rows down in this range and return that value. So that's what I mean by optionally, I'm returning the item from a different column. So if I find the item in column A, I can return the item on the same row in column B, which is what we're going to do. And we're also going to use the row function to return the row number. So we'll go back to Excel briefly. You may be familiar with this, and we'll just type something in here, but when I say, show me what row I'm on, you can see this is row 8. And we're going to use that to pull in the rows of data. This is row 1, 2, 3, and this is row 4. We're going to use that to pull in the first line, the second line, and the third line with data. And you can see that here. I've got my electrician local 683, construction and installation, R1, 2, and 3. And the way it does that is I know what row I'm on. I'm on row 1. I'm going to match row 1 in column F. And if there's no error, then I'm going to go to column B, and I'm going to go to that same row and bring in that value. So that's how I'm getting the words electrician local. Here, same thing, row 1, column C, go to the same row where I found the 1, I get the department number. And the same with the vacation amount. Vacation dollars comes in the same way. I'm on row 1, go find the 1 in column F and give me that value from column D. Since this is the debit amount and the credit amount I want as 0, I'm just going to put it as a 0. So that's what this 0 does, and we have it in there. So that gets me rows 1, 2, and 3. So this is how I can take this data and automatically pull it up here so that I can copy and paste into GL without having to attempt to do it this way or to do it like this every time. Oh, I did that backwards. Like this, because I can copy and paste this way as well. Any questions so far? So that should cover this with the match and index. And the next piece we'll use when we go to the offset. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to copy this and paste it like we did before. When we copy this and paste it, I can hit copy. I can come into GP, into the general transactions. I can do a paste, and there are my values, including my offset amount. You can see that the 755, the 1700, the 1944, and my offset account, which is the total of that. I'll just leave that on the screen. We'll go back to Excel here. So this pulled in my account numbers, but you'll notice that my offset account, I put the description and the offset account here so that it will show up on this last line. How do I know it's the last line? Well, I do very similar to what I've done here. I'm saying is if I don't find the row that I'm sitting on, in this case it's row 4. Can I find row 4 in column F? No, I cannot. But on this part of the if statement, I'm saying if my row is equal to the maximum of column F plus 1, so maximum of column F is 3, I'm sitting on row 4, so I know that I'm on the first row after my data. If that's the case, I'm going to put in the text from cell I1, which is my vacation offset. I do the same thing here when I know I'm on row 4, which is one more than all of the data in column F, and I go get my offset account from cell I2. So that's how it gets that. If I were to say this is a different account number, you see it would pull it in there. Also, if I were to change this back to 0, it knows that this row 3 is now the first row after all my data. So that's how that works. The last thing we'll cover is offset. So we'll go back here to the slide deck and we'll use the offset function. The offset function confusingly has the same name as our offset account. This is an Excel function called offset, and what it does is it creates a range. The range can be a single cell or it can be an actual range. It can be a single column, it can be a single row. And it can be used as parameters for things such as sum, which is what we're going to do with it. So the offset function requires an anchor point for the start, an offset itself, and the size. And the size are optional parameters for the size in rows and columns. So we'll give a demo of that. So in this case, I'm going to sum the offset of M1. So I'm starting at M1, which is my vacation time column, copied over. And I'm going to go and sum all the rows that are above this row that I'm sitting on. So you notice that I'm starting on column M right here, and I'm going 0 rows over, 0 columns over, and the height is the row number that I'm on, which is 3, minus 1, which is 2. So my range is going to be these 2 cells, and those 2 cells are going to equal this value amount. So this is how I automatically do the offset account and the offset amount. So the offset amount just sums, effectively is just summing what are the numbers in column M. And because this is a 0, and we know it's a 0, we could have included that in the sum range as well. I didn't in this case. I put the minus 1. So that is how we're automatically summing the amount for the offset account. So as I add more numbers in here, if I add in 500, we should get 4144, and you can see that it sums these automatically. So that is how the offset account comes in for that. The same thing applies when we look at our sick time offsets. This is exactly a mirror of the same thing, only looking at column G instead. So here we pull in from column G. We've seen that we only have 2 rows of data there. Here's my sick time, and here's my offset account that sums up these 2 values. My offset description and my offset account itself. Any questions so far? I realize this is possibly stuff that you've never seen before in Excel. This is stuff that we built to make this very simple to do copy and paste from a report. So this is to go over this offset piece again. This is basically what I covered. Here I have an absolute reference to an anchor amount, an anchor point, cell L1. And by absolute reference, I mean I have a $sign in front of the row and the column. That says it's always L1, no matter where this shows up in the spreadsheet. An offset from the anchor point, 0 rows and 0 columns. And this optional parameter says the size of the rows of range. So all of the rows above this one. So we did that demo. We put it all together. So the point of this is to tag the data rows, indicate the rows with data greater than 0. And I want to copy the data from tag 1 to row 1, data from tag 2 to row 2. To make it easy to do copy and paste, I'll detect the first line past the last data tag number, create an offset line and a sum. So that is what this does. And we have that. So for a special bonus, unless there's any questions on this, the bonus now, you'll notice that this is green and this is orange. How did we do that? That isn't covered in the slides here, but I will show you how that worked. It's maybe a bit more than needed for copy and paste, but I put it in there as a color to give it something easy to see, a visual indicator of what do I want to do for what I want to select. So this coloring is done using a conditional format. So when I pick conditional formatting here and I manage my rules, you can see I have a conditional format that sets this to green. We'll edit the rule and we'll see that if the sum of m plus n is greater than 0, then I'll click the format button here. We fill the cell with this color of green. That is the formula, and you'll notice that the $sign in front of the M and the $sign in front of the N, pardon me, that's very touchy. The $sign in front of the M and the $sign in front of the N restricts it to that column. I didn't restrict the row because I wanted to have to work on every row in my range. My range is where this conditional format applies, is from cell K1 to N32. So I have 32 rows of possible data here. That can be expanded, of course, if you have more than 32 departments. So this will apply this conditional format to that range, and if the data in column M and column N sum to more than 0, then we'll color all the cells in that row of that range to green. We'll see that we also have the same thing for this orange for the sick time over here. So that is how that works. Any questions? So to get back to this, employee sick time accrual, if this is something that you're interested in, please give us a call. This is something we have available. And it is something where it's very simple to set up in Dynamics GP to set up accrual accounts on a department to accrue the vacation and the sick time too. And then with this report, you can sum them up by employee, by department, and in this tab we can sum it by department, for the accruals by department, for these specific account numbers, and then you can paste it into GL. With that, I have covered everything on this. I will open the floor to questions. I'm going to check that everybody's unmuted.
Can you remind me where this is available on your website, the PowerPoint?
I will put it up on the website and I will get that out to you.
Is there a spreadsheet as well that would go with it?
I can make a spreadsheet. I can mock up the spreadsheet for it, yes.
That'd be great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? I can't say that this exact same spreadsheet is up there. This is a report that we actually, I will check and verify this. This is a report we may actually be offering as a tool, but I will put something out that will use the same types of offset and whatnot for GL copy paste. Any other questions? Okay, with that, I am going to end the webinar. You will see I will flip back to the slides. You can see how to get a hold of us at this phone number. It's our regular phone number, and you'll see my email account here. So if you have any questions on this, please let us know. Thank you very much.